Hello, everybody. This is Michael coming to you from Palo Duro Canyon State Park in the great state of Texas. At the entrance, you can sometimes see these big longhorns. Never saw one this color. Thought it was neat. I stayed in the sagebrush camping area. Nice place. Big space for your camper. People put big rigs there. A picnic table. Places for tents. If you wanted to also have some tents out there, you could do that. As soon as I got all set up, the welcome committee showed up. I think they were looking for handouts, but I didn't have any for them. But it's kind of neat to see them up that close. And they come around often. You see them all around the park. But in my campsite, the Sagebrush is the closest one to the Pioneer Amphitheater, which is a place where every summer they put on a play called Texas. And it's about Texas, and it's really a neat place, yeah, and something you ought to plan to come see. As I came back, I noticed this Roadrunner running around acting real funny. And I didn't know what it was, and all of a sudden, holy smoke. Folks, we have a rattlesnake out here. That's what you got to watch out for around here. Notice this Roadrunner was trying to distract the rattlesnake. I guess he was headed towards a nest of hers or something. I don't know. But one of the many things you'll see here, and this rattlesnake was probably a good 5 foot long, and his body was probably as big around in my forearm. And so, but that's just one of the things, it's wildlife, and you're out in it, so you just got to be careful and watch for them. They're actually good for the environment too. They keep the rodents, the numbers of the population of the rodents down, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that Roadrunner was wondering why we weren't helping though. And here's some good scenery from top of on the rim of the canyon. A little more. It's a beautiful place. I think these places have as much beauty as the mountain. This is the Capitol Trail, the head for it, and it actually connects to the Lighthouse Trail if you know how to do it. And we usually would park here and start here and just connect to the lighthouse. Probably if you go all the way and stop and walk all the way up to the lighthouse and back, you're doing a full 6 miles, maybe a little more than that. I don't know, but this is what we used to do. And it was lots of fun. Good place to park, and get together. We'd have our vehicles there and our extra waters and all that stuff. And it was lots of fun. Of course, I don't know if you can. If you're going to do this, that's fine, but you need to be in pretty good health. They have a thermometer out there. And I've noticed now that some places they actually have sunscreen available for people. So, you have no excuses. You know how hot it is. They have sunscreen. And if you get yourself in trouble, it is your own fault for sure. And we don't want that, though. We want you to be safe and be good and healthy. And thought I'd give you just a look. This is a friend of mine. He and I had gone on a bike ride and through the canyon when it was muddy, and we were pretty proud of ourselves. About to go on a trip, our first real trip together, I guess. Anyway, here's a look around the canyon from a pretty good spot where you can pull off the little road and stop and take a look around. You can see a lot of the canyon, kind of an overview of it from that spot. They have several spots you can stop and get some good views from, but it's just fun to see it all. But thought it'd be fun to show it to you. Here's some deer that came right through our camp. That's a doe right there, and she's just sitting there grazing. And then her fawn is over there. He looked up to see what I was doing, and then he decided I wasn't threatening him, so he's gonna go back to eating, which I don't blame him. And there's some other ones I found. There's probably a little older youngsters. There's 2 of them there, and I didn't see a mom anywhere, so they're probably on their own. And I decided to go hiking the Sunflower Trail, which is the easier trail. Or one we took people on. We used to mountain bike here all the time, the new beginners, because it wouldn't be quite as difficult. But I was gone back and added some more bug spray because there are deer flies out there that hurt. And as I was coming through here, I realized there's something down there by a rock. And you can kind of see it from here, but you'll see it here real good here in a minute. And this kind of stuff would scare the daylights out of some folks, but there's a tarantula there. And it's kind of funny if you'll notice he's kind of tapping his feet a little bit, his front legs. And I think we'll see that why here a little bit. But
I don't know what that tarantula's done, but maybe something we're interested in. There's something in that little hole right there. I don't know if that's where its den is or if that's its prey item is in there. I don't know, but something's going on.
Have mercy!
Yeah, there's another one. Look at that. We caught something here that we hardly anybody gets to see, probably. That's pretty wild. There's another one in there.
And I thought I'd take you hiking with me a little bit on the Sunfire Trail. There's all kinds of neat stuff you can see on this trail. As we already seen, you can have to be careful and watch out for wildlife because there could be all kinds of wildlife around here, and that includes the snakes or tarantulas, even coyotes. And you just have to be smart about things, and you need to make sure you're going down the right trail. This is me just double checking which direction was the right way to go, and it turned out that way was, and that's the way it went. But this is just, we used to take people here that just the first time they were going to be mountain biking out here, just because this wasn't the most difficult trail. Because I don't guess we ever went down the most difficult trails anyway. We went down primarily this one and that lighthouse trail. We kind of parked over there, like I said earlier, at the Capitol Peak parking spot, and got thrown there, and then merged into the lighthouse trail, which it was a good ride. We had lots of fun doing that. Last time I did it though, and that's the last time I've done it, is that's why you gotta wear helmets, folks. Because my last time we went through there, and there was a jump that we used to always do, a little jump, but didn't always realize it was coming, and I would just barely jump it. So this last time I was gonna jump it good, so I started gearing up and getting some speed going, and I came off there. But just as I did, my back tire slipped, and it leaned me sideways. And I'm not one of those stunt guys that can twist your bike around and stuff while you're in the air very good. And I came down and slammed my whole left side to the ground, cracked my helmet, knocked the breath out of me. Had to tell the people there to please stop. Had to just put my hand out like stop. And you'll come to these places, and thankfully they've got signs here and it tells you which direction you should be going. And so, because some trails will merge together for a little bit, but just make sure you read them and go the right direction. But anyway, on the trail, but it cracked that helmet all the way through. And I used to keep it for a while and show people that and tell them, that's why you wear helmets when you're riding, best on their bike anyway, period. Because it just doesn't matter. Something could happen, and you ought to protect yourself. I don't care what it looks like, because if, the better to look uncool a little bit and be alive than look cool and wind up dead. That's my opinion anyway. Because you didn't protect yourself. I have had a wreck once where I didn't have a helmet on, back when we didn't wear helmets so much. And I was just fortunate I didn't get hurt worse than I did. It was a bad one anyway, but this is a Sunflower Trail. It's got lots of different types of things. You saw we came down some hills there and stuff, and then this flattens out for ways, and we'll have some downhill sections and come through the trees. In a minute, we'll go through a little bit of a place where there's a cliff on one side. And you can, I mean, this trail here, one direction is like 1.2 miles. And I did it 2 days in a row. It was about 2.4 miles total each day. And at first, if you depending on where we parked was, on, I don't know exactly which direction to tell you, but we parked at one end over close to the Capitol Peak area, and I hiked down that way. So downhill, that direction is mostly downhill. When you get to the other side and you turn around and come back, it'll be mostly uphill, which is you know which is not a bad thing really. But if you're going to if the downhills get you, maybe you got to start with with the uphills get you, start with the uphills, and then you'll have downhills the second half. But here's a little canyon area. This is kind of neat, I think. But you gotta, and people, there'll be like two places to go. Sometimes the other one side gets muddier, and so people go around it. And I think this is pretty neat. Because you get to see a lot of the topography, and you'll see more of it. The more the trails you go, the more that you'll see. It's a very interesting topography, scenery. And there's always a chance. Probably during the day, you're not going to see a whole lot of wildlife, but you never know. If you go in the evening hours or early morning hours, you're likely to see more stuff, wildlife related. But they're kind of like people. They don't like to be out when the sun's glaring down at them and making them hot either. So most of them will kind of take cover under some shade somewhere. Get up when it's cool, do your eating and stuff, and go back and the end of the shade where it's cooler. And that's another thing though, like people do. They like these kind of paths and roads and stuff because why not take the path of least resistance? Just like not all of them will, but there'll be some to do because it's easier for them, just like it is for us. Some places it's the animals that started the path, and so people came along and kind of claimed it as the hiking trail or whatever. And so it's very pretty through there. And the only part we ever had a hard time was right here at this bridge. For some reason, that when you're on a mountain bike and it was so much further down, it just got people coming across here. Kind of funny to me, but we went on the other bridges, but it wasn't as far a drop. And it didn't bother folks then. Nice and shaded. There's places here to take a break. If you wanted to stop, and because you should have water with you if you wanted to stop. And some people at the top and the bottom of the hour will stop and take a break and get a drink. And if it's bothering you, maybe you need to do that. I didn't really have to do that while I was doing this, but there's actually even a picnic table down here. And so if you wanted to, you could pack your lunch in and have a picnic. Just watch out for Yogi Bear, I guess. But it would be fun to do sometimes because you're not going to have that many people down there picnicking with you. See, I mean, we went from the downhills and through the kind of the treeless areas. Now we're in the thick of the trees. Fun times, man. It just if you get, especially if you get some people to go with you, it's even more fun. I enjoyed it just because it was. I did this kind of in the morning. It was cool. It felt good, and I got some exercise, which I need, you know. And so this was the end, you know, and you can see there the two trails kind of merge together. You can go one way and get to Rojo Grande and go back the other way, and you'll do the Sunflower Trail again. And they have a little chair, a bench there, and I sat there and chilled out a little bit, and we went back. But now, this is I decided just to kind of get people coming down from the top. This is how the road looks as you're coming down from the top of the canyon. And they warn you that some of these, there's a place or two in here that is probably a good 10% grade. I don't think the whole thing is, but it's going to be pretty good, 7 or 8%, you know. But you know, some of this kind of stuff gets people, and it has me before when I wasn't used to seeing it. But I hauled my camper over Teton Pass and Red Mountain Pass, and you know Coal Mountain and Molas Pass over in the San Juan Skyway, and so now this stuff really didn't bother me a whole lot. It does. What does bother me is the people that come around those curves and cut the curves, and I'm not. And I don't know what they expect the rest of us to do. You know, I mean, we all got to share the road. I get over as far as I can and hope. And so far, it's worked out. But I don't know what people and coming up this bit of it right here, I see people hugging that center line a bunch, and some of them are over it until they see somebody coming and they move over a little bit. I don't know. It's not easy for folks that aren't used to it. Especially some of that right there. You can, if you looked over to the left of where we're, or it was further up, it was like pretty far drop off. You know, it's leveling out now, almost down to where the campsite is, and so. But it's neat. I mean, fun to see. Fun to go see it all, and you know, these to me, this is as pretty a place as mountains. It just doesn't have the coolness that the mountains have in the summertime, which I do love and for sure. But it's a neat place. I like it. Not as well known as the Grand Canyon because it's not as big as the Grand Canyon, but it's still. Well, that's it for this video, folks. If you liked what you saw, please hit like. Please subscribe on my YouTube channel and hit like there too as well. Thank you.